You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. In August 2017, a daring journalist boarded a submarine for an exclusive interview and vanished without a trace. What happened beneath the waves shattered a nation's sense of safety and exposed a darkness no one expected. This is the story of Peter Madsen and Kim Wall, a chilling tale of ambition, deception, and murder. Dive deep with us as we uncover the truth hidden beneath the sea. Chapter 1. 2 Lives, 1 Interview. Peter Madsen was a self-styled Danish inventor and entrepreneur, known in Denmark for his ambitious, some said obsessive pursuit of private engineering feats. Born in 1971, Madsen began working with rockets in his youth and quickly developed a reputation for brilliance as well as egotism. By the early 2000s, he had co-founded Copenhagen Suborbitals, a nonprofit aiming to build DIY space rockets. However, Madsen's volatile personality led to conflicts, and he was ousted from the organization. He then focused on building submarines, including the UC-3 Nautilus, the largest privately built submarine at the time. In stark contrast, Kim Wall was a 30-year-old Swedish freelance journalist with a formidable academic background, including degrees from the London School of Economics and Columbia University. She reported from Sri Lanka, Cuba, Uganda, and North Korea, exploring stories about identity, politics, and marginalized communities. Her work was deeply human and courageous, driven by a curiosity to explore the world's overlooked corners. She lived in Copenhagen with her boyfriend and was preparing to relocate to Beijing for a new assignment. Their meeting on August 10, 2017, came about because Wall had long been interested in Madsen's eccentric ventures. She arranged to interview him aboard his submarine. Her plan was to write a profile for Wired or another international outlet. At around 7 p.m., she boarded the Nautilus with her recorder and notepad. It was a casual summer evening, and witnesses recalled her waving goodbye from the deck as the vessel slipped beneath the surface. That interview would be her final assignment. Chapter 2. A missing person, a sinking submarine. Later that night, Kim Wall did not return home. Her boyfriend reported her missing by 1:43 a.m. Danish Navy, and emergency services launched a search, unsure whether there had been a maritime accident or a miscommunication. Peter Madsen re-emerged the next morning, rescued by a civilian boat after the UC-3 Nautilus sank under mysterious circumstances in Cuge Bay. When questioned, Madsen initially claimed that he had dropped Wall off on land near Refshalean around 10:30 p.m., but that claim fell apart quickly. No surveillance footage or witness accounts supported his version. Investigators began suspecting foul play, especially after determining that the submarine had not sunk accidentally but had been intentionally scuttled. Divers examined the wreck and retrieved multiple hard drives, tools, and other items. Inside, they found traces of blood and hair that matched Kim Wall's DNA. These forensic clues turned the case from a missing persons investigation into a suspected homicide. Madsen was arrested the same day and charged with involuntary manslaughter, though that charge would evolve into something much more serious as more evidence emerged. Chapter 3. Body Parts in the Bay. On August 21, 2017, nearly 2 weeks after Wall's disappearance, a torso was discovered on Imager Island by a cyclist. The body had been deliberately mutilated, arms, legs, and the head had been severed. Forensic analysis confirmed the identity. It was Kim Wall. Over the following months, divers and police search teams located additional body parts, each recovered with weighted objects tied to them, metal rods, plastic bags, and zip ties, seemingly intended to prevent the remains from surfacing. The head was eventually found in a bag along with a heavy metal item and a knife. Crucially, there were no skull fractures or signs of trauma that would support Madsen's early claim that Wall had died when a submarine hatch fell on her. Instead, the autopsy showed evidence of stab wounds to her torso and genital area. Pathologists described the wounds as having occurred before or shortly after death. The medical evidence pointed strongly toward a violent, sexually motivated killing rather than an accidental death followed by panic. At this point, Madsen changed his story again, saying that she died of carbon monoxide poisoning from an engine malfunction. Once again, no evidence supported that narrative. Investigators were now dealing with a man who was not only lying, but tailoring his story to align with what he thought police had discovered. That behavior further fueled suspicions that the crime had been premeditated. Chapter 4: Digital Darkness and Premeditation. Investigators examined Madsen's digital devices, hard drives, USB sticks, and memory cards recovered from the submarine and his workshop. What they found was deeply disturbing. The drives contained videos and images of women being decapitated, tortured, and mutilated. Most were amateur fetish material, not Hollywood horror. Madsen denied ownership of the videos, claiming others had used the computer. But multiple witnesses, former colleagues and acquaintances, testified that the devices belonged to him and were used exclusively by him. Furthermore, chat records and internet search histories revealed a pattern of sadistic sexual interests, specifically involving murder and mutilation. Several women came forward during the investigation with unsettling stories. One woman testified that Madsen had once asked her detailed questions about her tolerance for pain and suggested she accompany him onto a submarine late at night. Others described him as charismatic but manipulative, with a volatile temper and an obsession with control. The prosecution's theory was chilling. Peter Madsen had planned the killing of Kim Wall as a form of sexual torture fantasy. The submarine, a vessel of his pride and engineering, Genus was transformed into a private chamber where he could act out his darkest desires without witnesses. Chapter 5: The Trial and Conviction. The trial of Peter Madsen began in March 2018 and ran for nearly 2 months. The prosecution presented a comprehensive case built on forensic evidence, digital records, witness statements, and psychological evaluations. Madsen, while admitting to dismembering Kim Wall, maintained that her death was accidental and that he panicked. The prosecution argued otherwise. Their case was built around the theory of premeditation. They emphasized that Madsen had taken tools on board a saw, screwdrivers, knives, and zip ties, all items that had no logical reason to be on a pleasure cruise. Prosecutors also noted that he had canceled a planned rocket launch the day before, possibly to ensure no one would miss him while he carried out the crime. Forensic evidence ruled out all of Madsen's earlier explanations. Kim Wall had not been hit by a hatch. There was no carbon monoxide in her blood. Her injuries were consistent with deliberate assault and mutilation, and her body had been dismembered in a calculated attempt to dispose of it. On April 25, 2018, Peter Madsen was found guilty of premeditated murder, sexual assault, and indecent handling of a corpse. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, the most severe sentence in Denmark, although subject to review under Danish parole laws. Chapter 6: Escape Attempt and Confession. 2 years later, in October 2020, Madsen briefly made international headlines again. He escaped from Herstedvester prison in a dramatic and bizarre attempt. He held a prison psychologist hostage using a fake explosive belt, claiming to be armed with a bomb and demanding release. He made it just a few hundred meters before being apprehended by heavily armed police. Although no one was harmed, the escape exposed systemic weaknesses in prison protocols for dangerous offenders. Madsen was transferred to a high-security unit and subjected to further restrictions. Later that year, in a documentary by Danish journalist Christian Lindman, Madsen finally admitted, on tape, that he had killed Kim Wall. It was the first time he had confessed outright, though he offered no apology or explanation for the murder. The admission provided some measure of closure for Kim Wall's family, though it came far too late to be meaningful in the eyes of many. The confession did, however, reaffirm what the evidence had made clear, that Madsen had lured Kim Wall onto his submarine under false pretenses, intending to kill her. Chapter 7. Kim Wall's Legacy. In the years since her death, Kim Wall has been remembered not as a victim, but as a journalist of great promise and principle. Her family, devastated by the brutality of her murder, channeled their grief into something meaningful. They established the Kim Wall Memorial Fund, which awards grants to female reporters pursuing adventurous journalism, the kind of work Kim had dedicated her life to. Her murder sparked global conversations about the risks faced by freelance journalists, especially women, even in environments not traditionally seen as dangerous. It exposed how power, control, and predation can manifest in subtle forms, hidden behind charm, intellect, and professional respectability. Peter Madsen's fall from celebrated inventor to convicted murderer serves as a reminder that monsters often wear disguises. But Kim Wall's story continues to inspire. Through her writing, through the scholarship in her name, and through the voices she sought to uplift, her legacy endures far beyond the horror of her final hours. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.